So you want to install OpenJDK 18, test it out, maybe write a simple program, see if it's running. And that's what this video is for. So really, let's get started. A couple of things right off the bat is just setting up Windows to make sure that we all see what we're supposed to see. So the first thing I always like to do is begin with turning on my extensions. I don't know why Microsoft in Windows has decided that the extension should be turned off in terms of, showing them in the folder, but I like to see them. So we usually go into the configuration folder, and it brings us up into this area. And if you click on the view, I've already set a whole bunch of different settings. So I'll scroll through it slowly so that you can see what the settings that I have are. The first thing I really like to do is make sure I can turn on as much information as I can, which is what you see there. And then, of course, display the full path in the title bar. That's always very useful. And then turn off hiding the extensions. So you can see here, this is the common one. Just make sure that's not clicked. And then the rest of these are, well, to your liking. You can play around with them and so on. I like to turn on as much as I can of showing my folder structure as well. But for me, the most important one is turning off that hide extensions. I really don't know why Microsoft doesn't want us to see the extensions. So hit apply and OK. We're going to come back to the system configuration in a little while, but for right now, let's do some downloads. So two downloads, really, to really get started. Most important one is, of course, Java, but then we'll also download a very simple programmer's editor as well. So the first thing to download is, of course, Java. So I think the common one is usually either Java 11, whether it's from Oracle or the OpenJDK version, but I'm going straight to 18. Let's just take the latest version that's very, I guess, very popular and also stable. 19 and 20, you can see over on the side here, they're sort of in pre-release versions. Not quite sure, exactly when they become official, but at least 18 is official. And I don't really know how long it'll last before 19 is out there. For those of you wondering, what is the difference between all these versions of Java? Well, most of them, if not all of them, are backwards compatible, meaning that if a piece of software is written for Java 1.8 or version 8 or 11, it'll also work in any later version as well. So if you code with the latest version, then at least you're still able to run everything. The limitation is, of course, you can't give your software to somebody who's not running the version that you compiled in. But you can always download an older version or a pre-version and recompile for that one. So we're going to do 18. I'm running Windows, so I'm going to be downloading this version right here, which is the Windows x64. There really is no 32-bit version anymore, so everything is all 64-bit. I think some of the older versions you can get, like 1.8, you can still get them in 32-bit version. If you're installing on a Mac, of course, you'd run a Mac OS. But this video is installing in Windows, so we'll download the Windows one. So just click on the old zip here. And my Firefox is configured to always ask me when I'm going to save. Otherwise, if you're downloading with Edge or Chrome, it usually downloads to the download folder, which is exactly where this is going to be. I've already downloaded it, so I'm not going to just waste time in the video downloading that. And of course, you'll just let it sit and download. The other one, and every programmer who's running Windows should have Notepad++ installed. I don't care what language you program in or what your job is. Notepad++ is the ultimate Swiss Army knife of editors that will open up anything. It has nothing to do with programming. It's just a fantastic multi-file type of editor. And always pick the latest version. And of course, Notepad++ always likes to update itself, usually about once a month or once every 3 months it usually does. So just click on that and of course download the version. So click on download and of course it'll go through and ask for a download here as well. So I'm not going to waste time there. I've already gone ahead and downloaded and installed Notepad++. But I haven't done anything else to it, so nothing special I want to talk about with Notepad++. So you've got the files downloaded, so let's take a look at them. We'll open up Explorer, and I'll go to my Downloads folder, And of course you don't see the Notepad++. As I said, I've already installed it and deleted the download. But you do see the OpenJDK version as well. So it's downloaded, and let's expand it so we can actually go ahead and install it. And by install, it really doesn't mean going through the motions of installing. There's no software to run. It's really just putting it in the right spot and telling Windows where Java is. So what I'm going to do is just right-click on it, and instead of using the WinRAR to do the expansion, Windows has a built-in feature, so I'm just going to click on Extract All. It will then extract it to the folder that I'm in, which is in Downloads, and I'm going to turn off Show Extracted Files. I don't need to see them. I know that they're going to be there, and I'll copy them to the right place manually, so I don't need them to be shown right away. So I'll click Extract, and it will just go through the process of taking all those files that are in the zip and putting them into a folder in the same spot. So that usually takes a second or so. So let's enjoy the fancy graphic that Windows provides us. Fantastic. So you'll see that it created a folder underneath here, which is got the OpenJDK 18. So what we're going to do is copy the JDK-18.0.2.1 over to a particular place and then tell Windows where that is. Now you can pretty much copy this anywhere you want. Normally, if you're running Oracle, Java, a Java version from Oracle, it will install it in the C program files folder. So usually it'll create a Java folder and then drop it in there. I'm not a big fan of that one if I'm the one who's actually installing Java. The Oracle one has a process of running the installer, and it runs a piece of software, and when you uninstall it, it knows what it sort of did. But in this case, we're not actually going through an installation process. So what I'm going to do is go right to my C drive and create a brand new directory, or a brand new folder. I guess they're called folders with the new kids. And I'm just going to call it Java VM. So for Java Virtual Machine. The JVM is what runs Java programs, so otherwise known as the Java Runtime Environment. So in here, any other version that I download of the Java VM will be put into this one. So if I download another version of Java, let's say I do download OpenJDK 11 or OpenJDK 1.8, I'm going to manually put them into this folder. Depending on your computer, you might have some sort of security put around the C drive, around the hard drive, so Windows may ask you to authorize the creation of the folder. But I've gone ahead and put it in here. If you do have issues putting it in there, you could create this folder, as I said, anywhere. You could create it in the documents, well, I would recommend not putting it into downloads. You don't want to mess up the files that you're just downloading and they're all temporary, but you could really create this folder anywhere. So I've gone ahead and created it in the JVM. So let's go back over to downloads and we'll look at this folder again. So just to point out where it is, it's that brand new folder that we created when we did the extraction. So we'll go into it. And what I want to do is right click and copy, copy this entire folder. I could cut it, but I want to leave a copy here just in case I mess up. So just in case it's there, it's already extracted, so I'm just going to make a copy of it. Go down here to JVM and we will paste it in. Again, the wonderful progress bar. And at this point, as far as Windows is concerned, really Java's installed. That's really all you need to do with OpenJDK Java versions, is you just copy them into the right spot. There's a couple more things we're going to do, but for right now, that's all we really need to do. So if we go into it, you'll see it's got all these other folders that are below it. All the running versions of Java, so the Java compiler and the Java virtual machine, are all sitting in the bin folder, or otherwise known as the binary folder. There's some configuration files as well. So these are the configuration of the whole Java environment sitting on your computer. And you can tweak these if you want. I don't recommend you start messing around with them right away. But you can search online and see what the features are and what the changes are. There are some other features as well. There's some includes. These includes are used for when you're compiling a program and it's the low-level functionality of Java. This is all sitting there, and you can see it's got JVM titles, JNI, so Java Native Interface, Java Virtual Machine, Java Abstract Windows Toolkit. For those of you familiar with the C and C++ programming languages, the .h is a header file, so you can imagine that Java is, well, written in C and C++, mostly in C, but it's also predominantly written in Java. This isn't a video for talking about the structure of Java. This is the installation. So as I said, for right now, everything is actually installed in Java, but there's a couple of things that we need to finalize just to make sure that the Java environment is, well, running and it's where it's supposed to be. So two quick things is to make sure that what we extracted and copied is running. So let's do that by going to the Start menu. We'll open up a command prompt or a command window, and we'll type cd \, that'll take us back to the root. If we type in dir or directory, it'll show us the folders, and you'll see that there's a folder right at the top called Java VM. This is corresponding to this folder right here, which is the Java VM folder. So Windows, this folder interface is just sitting on top of this command line interface. So almost anything you do with files, you can probably do here at the command line. So let's change directory into the Java VM folder, do another directory, and you can see there's that JDK-18 and so on that we copied in here. So that is really OpenJDK 18. So let's go into that one, and we should take a look. We can see those directories or folders that we saw again. So let's go into the binary, and what I want to do is look at two files. So let's see if I can see them. So do a directory, and I don't want to see all the files, just the ones that start with Java. So java.exe and javac.exe. Javac.exe, the second one I've highlighted, that one is the compiler. So that's actually the Java compiler. So when we take our source code .java files and convert them into executable or .class files, which we'll talk about much, much later. So how do we check out that these are running fine? So let's do that. So Java, let's see, Java-version. This will tell us the runtime version of Java. So whenever we run a Java program, this is what it's going to be run as. And you can see that it's telling us it's OpenJDK version 18. And it's 64-bit and so on. So let's do the same with the compiler, which we were just talking about. And you can see that's also Javac 18. So the runtime version and the compile version are running. That's all we needed to do. If for some reason they hadn't gotten extracted properly or they hadn't gotten copied properly, these commands wouldn't work. You can imagine if I just typed in like a bad command or a bad program, we'd probably see something like this if the program hadn't extracted properly. So let's exit out of this window and let's go back to just getting everything set up. So for right now, we know that Java is copied over. So there's two more things that we need to do. The first one is creating a Java home environment. And we do that by going into our settings and type in, let's see, variables. That should get us where we need to be. And we could set it up just for our account or for the entire system on the computer that you're on. If you're the only one who uses your computer, it really doesn't matter which one you set it up in. If your computer is used by a few different people, like each one has their own login profiles and so on, you might want to just set it up for your account. But in this case, everybody that uses this computer is really just me. So there's only one user. I'll set it up as a system environment. We'll go down here to the bottom to our environment variables. And what we need to do is add a new variable, a new system variable. And this one is called Java Home. And it doesn't matter if you type it in all in uppercase or you type it in lowercase, Java_home. In Windows, it doesn't matter. It does in Linux and Mac OS, but in Windows, it doesn't matter upper or lowercase. So I'm going to type it all in uppercase. because I think that's the common convention. What does this mean? Well, any program that you run, any application that uses Java, and we'll talk about that when we talk about compiling and so on, it needs to know where Java is. So we will tell it. We create a system variable called Java Home, so any program just looks at this variable and that tells it where Java is. So let's click on Browse Directory and go find that folder or that directory that we created. So we did create it on the C drive. We called it Java Home, and there we go. So we don't click on any of the folders below, but we just click on that main one. So the JDK-18. So what we should have is that. So if you'd place Java in another directory, let's say it was in Documents, you'd go find it and point to the appropriate one. So there you go. There's no backslash or anything on the end. That's all you need to do. So we'll put that in there so you can see it just got created. It's the third one in there. The next thing to do is really point to where Java is. And I'm going to do that later. But for right now, we created the Java Home. So there we go. Let's close that. And to see that it's actually there, let's open up another command window and just type in set. And what we should see somewhere in here is our Java Home. So these are all the system variables for Windows. And whoop, I highlighted the wrong one. So there we go. So Java Home. Not quite sure what the home path really is, but well, the home path, I guess, is your personal directory when you log into this computer, but we know where Java Home is. Awesome. Okay, let's close that one down. So let's test to see if Java is actually running just fine. So let me go over to Documents, and I want to create a spot where I'm going to save all my Java programs and where they're going to be run from. So I'm going to create a brand new folder here. Let's call it, well, Java Programming. So how about Java Programming? Good name for it. Let's go in here. So of course there's no files because I haven't really created any. So let's use Notepad++ to go ahead and create a brand new program. So there's Notepad++. And before I do anything, I'm just going to go ahead and save it. So I'm just creating the file. So let's see, this will be in my Documents, Java Programming, and I'm going to call this one HelloWorld.java. Now you'll notice that the upper and lowercase, in Java that's extremely important. Whether you call your file with a name that has upper and lowercase letters, that matters. So whatever you call it, that's exactly what we're going to be doing in the actual program code. So almost every program in Java usually starts with a capital letter as well. So the most common one, of course, is Hello World. It's a program that we write to make sure that the compiler runs and it converts our program from source code to executable, and also the Java virtual machine or the Java runtime environment can actually run our program. It's the shortest program you can write, almost in any language. So here we go. Now if you notice, we now have this file, helloworld.java. It's sitting there. So it is empty. We haven't got anything in there. So this is the shortest program, the Hello World application. Put in a comment there. So just a // It's a comment totally ignored by the compiler, but it's a nice little note that we can add into our code. So public class Hello World. I like to put my braces on the line by themselves. There we go. Now Notepad++ is a programmer's editor, so it understands that I'm writing a Java program now. So you can see certain things are color-coded. It's indenting in I guess, the right way. So we've got a brace there, so it knows that the next line is going to be part of or within something, so that's why the indenting. So public static void main string args. So there we go, that's the beginning of the main method header. So another brace. Now we'll put in the only statement that is required to actually display something to the screen. And then a close brace there and a close brace there. So this is our complete program. So without getting too much into detail, all this program is going to do is display Hello World. And this is why Notepad++ is color coding for us. Certain commands are part of Java, other commands are really not part of Java, they're part of just our program. So there are different colors and codes. So I'm going to save it. Let's click on save. So our little icon up here has gone from red to blue, and our program is sitting in here. Now, of course, this is just the Java, it's the source code program. So let's actually go ahead and compile it. So how do we do a quick test like that? How do we compile it? Well, let's go back to our command window. And right now, I want to go into the directory that has my program. And we can see it at the very top of the Notepad++ window. C, users, WinVM, and so on. That's where the actual file is. So that's the beginning right now. So if we just type in cd documents, we've gone in. So cd Java programming, go in there. And if we do a directory, we should see our helloworld.java. It's already there. Okay, so first steps. If you've gotten this far, number one, congratulate yourself. You've been doing everything fine. So let's test it out. Let's run the Java compiler and tell it to compile our helloworld.java program. If there's no errors, we really shouldn't see anything except that it's not working. Oh yes, I completely forgot the step of setting up for actually calling the compiler. Let me back up. Nothing is ever perfect. So let me back up and let's go back into our settings and back into our system variables. I said we'd be coming back to this. Edit system variables. So we added our Java home here. So this is just a variable so that programs that do use Java know where Java is. But we haven't told Windows where the actual executable programs for the compiler and the Java virtual machine are located. So at the command line, when I tried to type them in, I'm not really a Java program. I'm just running commands, in Windows. So I have to tell Windows where Java is. So I do that by coming up here and adding to the class path. So that path statement up there. There's also a path one down here, and really they're the same, except you can see at the top it's for user variables, and then the bottom is system variables. So we're going to stick at system variables. So I'm going to come down to here to path. I'm going to go to edit, come down here, and we'll add a new one. And let's see, let's browse and go find that same directory that we created, and we put the Java environment in. But in this case, though, we're not just going to stay at the JDK. We're going to go down to the bin directory, and that's as far as we need to go. That's where all the programs are, all the programs that make up Java. So now with adding this into the path, clicking all the way back, when we type that command in, let me close that up. When we type that command in to do the compiling, it should find it. So let's see, command, and let's get down into that place again. Let's do a display. So that was in documents, Java programming. There's our helloworld.java again. See, our program hasn't moved, thankfully so. So now let's type in Java C, helloworld.java. Now Windows can actually find the Java C program, and it actually went ahead and compiled it. Now, if nothing is wrong, we don't actually see any indication. There's no error message that comes back and says your program is successfully compiled. There's no reason for that. It gets in the way. But if we go back over here into our directory, you can see a brand new file got created, helloworld.class. This is one of the reasons why I like turning on the extensions. Even though Windows does tell us over here on the type that a file is a class file or it's a Java file, that type column is so far to the right, I want that to be part of the file name. So you can see it's helloworld.class, helloworld.java. The helloworld.class file is actually the program itself that will execute. How do we execute it? Well, That's all we need to type in. We don't type in helloworld.class. The Java runtime environment in the Java virtual machine, which is just the Java command itself, assumes that there's a .class at the end. If you type it in, I don't believe it actually works. Well, we can try that in a moment, but there's our program. So did our program do exactly what it's supposed to? Let's see if I can get these two windows to line up. Well, our program was to display or print Hello World to the screen, and we see Hello World to the screen show up. It's all successful. It's all perfect. So at this point, you've got a running system. So you have a Java compiler running. You have the Java environment to actually execute your programs. But it's a little tedious to go down to the command line all the time and open up a command window just to do your compiling and your execution of your programs. So let me minimize this guy. The Notepad++ editor does give us, even though it's not a full integrated development environment for Java, it does give us the ability to do a lot of stuff just within it. So if you've downloaded Notepad++, again, congratulations. It's probably the best investment you'll make for having a tool that'll do almost anything for you for editing files. Let's go to our plugin admin, type in Java, and you can see that there's a Java plugin. And it's version 0.4, so it's not even version 1 yet, but it's so useful. So I'm going to go and then click on install. It will ask me to restart Notepad++ as it integrates the plugin. And let's go up to File and download our Hello World. There it is. Now, if we go over to our plugins, you can see that there's a Java plugin. Here you can compile and run your programs, or if you want to do it all in one step, click on Compile and Run. So let's just click on Compile, and what we should see is it's successful. Of course, we knew it was successful. We'd tested that already, but all Notepad++ did was run that Java C command. So instead of having us run it, it ran it. So what it did was, well, recreated the class file. That's really all it did. So just to prove it to you, I will delete the class file, and let's have Notepad++ recreate it for us. And we go back over here, and you can see that the file got recreated. So everything you could do with the command line in terms of compiling and running, Notepad++ will do it for you. But let's go ahead and run the program. So there we go. So it's now run the program in its own little command window. You didn't have to open it up yourself and do all the work. So it's nice. And if you click on any key, that window will disappear and you can continue editing. Very quickly, let's introduce an error into this. So let's remove the semicolon at the end. It's a classic error in Java programming. We'll save it. And for saving, you can also hit Control S. It's a very quick way to do it. So I hit Control S. Even the Java plugin has a way to compile, run with keystrokes as well. So Shift 8, Shift 9, or you can do it all together with a compile and run at Shift 10. So let's do that. Let's try and do a compile run. And you can see here we have an error. So the compiler has told us that there is an error, and the error itself is the semicolon is expected, and it's telling us it's happening here. And it's also telling us that the error is at line 6. So you can see up here with Notepad++, we've got our line numbers, so it's telling us the error is at line 6. Now, a class file would not have gotten created. The class file that's sitting there is the previous one. So it's the older one. And you can see that by the timestamp, 416 for the Java file, which is our last edit, but the class file is from 415, so from a minute ago. So clearly that's the old one. So let's go ahead and fix our problem. We'll save our file, go up here, and let's do the full compile and run. There's our program again showing us Hello World. And you can see that the timestamps, they make sense. They're now coincided with each other. So at this point, congratulations, you have a running OpenJDK version 18. And if you've got Notepad++ running, you've got a very simple editor where you can run, you can edit and run your programs. Congratulations.